This is a place.
This is the place?
This is a place. We want to talk about. This is a place.
Thank you for listening to This is a Place podcast. My name is Brandon, and I'm joined today by a man who was just not in the mood to come up with an opening joke, Nate.
And why am I not in the mood?
I don't know.
The stinking Utah Jazz let us down yet again.
This is nothing new. We're always disappointed by the Jazz.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got a question for you.
What's that?
What do you call a Utah Jazz player with a championship ring?
What's that?
A thief.
A thief.
What's the difference between the Utah Jazz and a dollar bill?
What?
You can still get 4 quarters out of a dollar bill.
Oh.
That was my biggest pet peeve, is that they played really well, but just 1 quarter of the last 4 games, they scored I think at least 18 or less points.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
It is, but I'm going to try and stay optimistic that they can fix some things and come back better next year.
It's true. And then one last question. What do you call 12 millionaires sitting around a TV watching the NBA Finals?
What's that?
The Utah Jazz. You get it? 12 millionaires watching the... Oh,
Yeah, because they're watching the game instead of playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a rough week. It's very rare. I don't like if somebody insults me or does something to me. It's hard for me to get offended, right? So it's hard for me to toss and turn at night and be upset. Lose sleep, I should say. But it was rough the night the Jazz lost, just because I had such high hopes for this season, and it was a rough night sleeping, because I'd wake up and be like, "It's true, they lost."
Yeah, when you wake up and you're like, "No, is this real?"
It can't be real. Can't be real. The game was going to be right in the middle of church if they were to win the last game. So I started having this, debate or dilemma going on in my mind, thinking, well, do I go to church for the full time, or do I sneak out early and go watch the Jazz game? Because I really thought there's no way we're losing that game after being up by 22 points.
I think your moral qualms was the reason why they lost.
But I've done this before. I've told the man upstairs multiple times, I will go to church. I've done this for the Broncos. I've done this for the Jazz. And I'm like, I promise I'll stay for the whole time if you just let them win this game. But the Jazz let me down again. The only team that has ever fulfilled all my wildest dreams has been the Denver Broncos. Therefore, that's why I'm a pretty big Denver Broncos fan. Right. But I bring up the question, just to drag it on just a little bit longer. Why do we care so much about something we have zero control over? I've never understood that my whole life, but yet here I am, continue to be a sports fan. And it just always drives me nuts that it's something I can't control. And maybe that's why I like playing sports so much, because that I can have an influence on.
And so I'd lay her down and try and watch the games on my phone on the side as she's falling asleep. But then she picked up I was watching it. So we ended up watching basketball. So every night now she's asking if we're going to watch basketball as I'm laying her down. I say, no, there's no game right now.
It's just hard to be around people right now, Brandon.
Okay.
It's so hard.
It's so hard, so much so that we couldn't even get the strength to leave our homes and go do a standard episode. So this is a little bit of an unconventional one. Another reason why we are doing a different episode is I also started a new job, so I've been a little bit busy with that.
Yeah, how's that going?
That's been good.
Did you figure out where the bathroom is?
I know where the bathroom is. Yep. But yeah, so we've just been busy, and it's freaking hot outside, so not really something you want to go out in if you can avoid it.
We've noticed that we haven't given much love to Utah County over the last year and a half, almost now.
Yeah, we've had one episode in the Utah County vicinity.
And it's because we're very afraid to go down there. It's a scary place to go. And it might have something to do with COVID, because if everything were in full swing last year, we would have been down there quite a bit going to BYU games. I'm sure we would have figured out things we could do to double up down there. But we thought it would be kind of fun to talk about famous people who have lived in Utah County. Go through the list of people that we know, thanks to the internet.
So this is also a new thing for Nate. He actually read through this article.
Ish. I sent it to Brandon first.
He sent it to me
to pre-approve it, and then if it looked like it was a good idea, then we would move forward. But
I didn't even look at it until just now, so take that.
What?
And a caveat that a lot of people on this list lived in Utah County because they went to BYU.
And I make this list for that reason too.
Yeah, you're famous. You were just on the news.
I sure was. I think about a week and a half ago. If you look in the comments below, there'll be a link.
Is it on the internet?
It's on the internet.
Oh, okay. I'll throw it in. I'll throw it in so they can see it.
Yeah, they actually a few days after they aired it, they put it on their website, and then they put it into another article as well. So what happened was a couple weeks ago, I play in this pickleball league thing where you get ranked, and then you and your partner get ranked, and then people who are below you can challenge you to take your spot, your ranking. So we were challenged, and the only time we could figure out to meet was like at 5:00 on the hottest day of the year so far. So right before we're about to start a pickleball match, some guy walks up and says, "Hey, do you mind if I video record you for KSL?" And we're like, "Sure." And then the reporter came walking over as well. I'm like, oh, okay. And then we thought they'd be there for like 10 minutes, just like shooting video of us, like kind of playing around for a minute. But he sat there and watched for like 5 minutes, and he pointed at me and he goes like, "Hey, you." And I came over and he's like, "You like to talk." He's like, kind of like, "You're a loudmouth." Because the guys we were playing that we got challenged, we're pretty good friends with. And so we were kind of joking around and goofing off and being sarcastic and all that stuff. So he said, "Hey, do you mind if I put a microphone on you?" And he put a microphone on one of the other players as well. And like I said, I thought he'd be there for like 10 minutes, but he was there for the whole match, like an hour and a half. But yeah, the whole story was that they were trying to find people crazy enough to be out in 100+ degree weather, doing outdoor activities. And they drove around for a while, they said, and they found one lady who was like planting tomatoes, and she refused to be on. And then they drove her to the park hoping someone would be there, and there we were. A couple of people, a lot of people saw it and have been making comments on it, but a few people have said that it made us look like idiots for being dumb enough to play out in the hot weather. And like, that's kind of what the whole story was about, about being out in the heat. So, but let's dive in to famous people that have lived in Utah County. And I'm assuming, Brandon, that you have never lived in Utah County, right?
I have not. I did commute to go to school at what was then UVU, now still UVU, but I've never lived in Utah County.
Well, first on the list is Orson Scott Card. And who be that?
Well, he wrote what I know him from is Ender's Game. Did you ever read that book?
No. Did they make that into a movie as well?
I think so.
I just feel like it was a movie at one point that I
It
didn't
was
see.
A movie in 2013.
So next on our list is a guy who you said who wrote a book as well.
Yeah.
It's a very famous book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which I still have not read. That's
I've read it.
Very effective. That's why you're so effective. And that's why you're the producer of this podcast, because you get things done.
Yep, and I couldn't, if you asked me on the spot, I couldn't tell you what any of those 7 habits are.
So I'll do my regular habit, and I'll send you the book, and you can tell me what it says.
Okay, deal.
But I think it's because of Stephen Covey that the day planner really kind of took off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Franklin Covey.
Franklin Covey. but I don't know. I know like Franklin Covey, the building they had off of 215 by Decker Lake, is the name has changed, so I don't think they're still using that building anymore. But I used to play a lot of basketball leagues there at Franklin.
And the
Covey.
Jazz used to practice there too.
Jazz used to practice there, and I think for a little bit there was like kind of like this minor league basketball team called. I want to say they were the Stars as well.
Next,
Probably
we got
one of the most famous people on the list.
Robert Redford. He's done things for Utah on a national scale in attracting people to come here for the Sundance Film Festival.
Yeah, and I think he's one of the founders of the Sundance Mountain Resort as well, which I believe he just sold.
Indeed.
And then I think he's also selling some more property, like a ranch or something like that. But
he used to be my cousin.
Used to be?
Yeah, by marriage. The next person on the list is pretty cool, mostly because they got a cool name. Brandon Flowers.
I like the Killers. I like Brandon Flowers. But yeah, he was. He said it says he moved to Payson with his family when he was 8. Lived there for 2 years before moving to Nephi, and then later to Las Vegas. And I want to say that he's even back now. I think he's up in Park City now.
Really? I had no idea.
I believe so. I think he was in Arizona for a while, and I want to say he's in Park City. So Brandon, if you don't mind, Brandon Flowers, if you don't mind reaching out to us and let us know where you live, since he is a listener of this podcast.
And if you want to come on the podcast, you are always welcome as well.
Exactly.
I will also say his solo stuff is really good.
I just like his music. I wasn't a huge Killers fan when they first came out, but it kind of grew on me, and yeah, I like their stuff.
The next few on the list are all musically related as well. So you've got Elaine Bradley and Tyler Glenn, both of Neon Trees.
Right. Elaine went to BYU. So I think that's her connection. It says Tyler moved to Provo in 2005. I like the Neon Trees. I'd go to their concert.
Then we have Lindsey Sterling. She on like America's Got Talent or something? How'd she become famous?
Yeah, I want to say America's Got Talent for playing the violin and dancing.
Yeah, she's definitely adds some flair to the violin.
She made the violin cool.
The next people on the list they're not that famous, but we'll mention them anyway. Donnie and Mary Osmond?
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 I think it's Marie Osmond.
Donnie and Marie.
Which I think it's interesting on this list that we're reading that they just put those two when didn't the rest of the Osmonds live in?
Yeah, like the whole family.
Well, then again, they were up in Ogden, right?
Oh,
so
there you go.
They may or may not have lived in Utah County, even so. Yeah, so Donnie and Marie. I've seen Donnie in concert. I saw him at Stadium of Fire. I've never seen Marie perform, but I think I've told you before, and I probably mentioned on the podcast as well, that so we would rent out the movie theater, and we were able to watch Harry Potter movies like a few days before it came out, and we'd invite a whole bunch of people, and Marie Osmond came to one of our showings, and I just thought it was interesting that she would need a free movie ticket.
Well, she wanted to see Harry Potter before everyone else as well.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, and I still went home, did not watch the movie. I would do the opening whatever greetings and then leave. So I still need to, and maybe I'll do that. I might do that.
Maybe we can do a whole series of us watching them
Harry Potter
for the first time for you.
I'll watch Harry Potter once you watch freaking Hoosiers.
Okay, deal.
And all the other movies you're supposed to be watching.
Okay. Let's not get off track. So we've got Julianne Hough, and I'd also add her brother to this, Derek Hough, because he's pretty cool too.
Well, I don't know if Derek has ever lived in Utah County.
Really?
Yeah, they lived in Sandy. These guys grew up in Sandy.
Oh, but it says she was born in Orem.
For real?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Then
so I'd assume he lived there as well.
I thought they were in Sandy.
They got their start on Dancing with the Stars, and they've both done a lot of stuff. Like I think she's on America's Got Talent right now, or she was.
Yeah, not anymore. But she did go to Alta High School, so so she had to have lived in Sandy at one point.
There you go. I
But
don't know the next one. Allison Holker, another dancer. So you think you can dance?
Yeah, my wife likes that show, but I've seen a little bit.
And Chelsea Hightower, same thing.
And then this one, you were a little shocked, right?
Yeah, Jewel.
Jewel. She was born in Payson and then grew up in Alaska.
You may not be as familiar with these next two, but I am. With Quinn Allman and Burt McCracken from The Used.
Yeah. I know they used.
You know The Used?
Of course. And speaking of bands, we got Dan Reynolds.
Imagine Dragons.
Imagine Dragons. But yeah, his brother was on a mission and they were at a restaurant or store, or a restaurant, I want to say, and Imagine Dragons song came on the radio, but his little brother didn't know that Dan or the Imagine Dragons were doing so well back in the States and didn't know they were famous. So he thought that his companion had played a trick on him and went and put like the CD or something on in the restaurant. And he's like, no, this is on the radio. So that's how he found out that his brother was now famous.
And they do that big concert every year at UVU in Utah County, the Love Loud concert or whatever it is.
Which they didn't do last year, obviously. And moving on, we have Ken Jennings.
Mr. Jeopardy.
The smart dude. I remember a guy in my ward worked with Ken when Ken was doing his whole run on Jeopardy. So it was always kind of fun to get a little bit of the inside scoop on how long he was going to last on Jeopardy.
But he never made it back to work, did he?
Nope.
Don't blame the guy.
And then we got a guy from Roy, Utah. I don't think he was born and raised in Roy. I think he just went to high school in Roy. But the famous Jim McMahon.
Oh, he's from Utah?
He played his junior and senior years at Roy High School. It's how do you choose which BYU sports celebrities you put on the list, right? Because they've had to have lived in Utah County.
Well, you got to have the next three of them that's on here.
Absolutely.
You got Jimmer Fredette, Steve Young, and Danny Ainge.
Danny just stepped down from being to working with the Celtics, right?
I think he's going to come work for the Jazz.
That's kind of been the rumor.
The next level next year.
One thing when I was in high school, when you go to weddings, me and my friend would sign like local celebrity, and he'd always do Steve Young. He had like Steve Young's autograph down, so he would always sign the wedding book at Steve Young. So I wonder how many people thought that Steve Young actually went to the wedding.
I think you would have known if he was there.
I don't know. He's pretty fast. So
he's pretty fast. I read his book a couple years ago. It was a pretty good book. I really like Steve Young. I don't like the next one on the list, though, because this guy's brother tried to poison me on my mission.
For real?
For real. So I have a cashew allergy. And
really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Oh, I did not know that. I love cashews.
Yeah, I get that same response every time I say it. Thanks.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Everybody loves cashews as soon as I tell them I hate them. Or not that I hate them, that I can't.
I literally just bought like a couple months ago, like a whole stockpile of cashews, cans of cashews.
Well, we can't kiss then. So
right.
Anyway, on my mission, this is only the second time I've ever had a cashew in my life, but this, his name's Brandon Mole. His brother we served together, and he gave me a gourmet malt ball, which you'd never think would have a cashew in it, but it did. And so I got to make a quick trip to the emergency room.
So when you have a cashew, what happens?
Anaphylaxis. My throat swells up. I can't breathe. All that stuff.
My wife used to have a nut allergy, and then like the same thing, it wasn't bad enough to have to go to the emergency room. She just like laid down and like try to control her breathing. It would kind of pass, but after having kids, it went away.
Well, anyway, so Brandon, he's a writer, most known for the Fablehaven series, and he went to BYU and grew up in Alpine.
Yeah.
Same with Brandon Sanderson, who's also another writer. I've heard the name. I haven't read any of his books, but he wrote the Mistborn series, and he now lives in American Fork with his family.
And the next guy is kind of controversial, right? Yeah. You got Aaron Eckhart. Is that how you say it? Eckhart?
So I didn't know where you're going with the Aaron Eckhart being controversial. So please continue.
Well, because I think he did a lot of Mormon films. Like
yeah, if he's in some seminary
films.
videos.
Yeah, and now he's doesn't care to be affiliated with the church anymore. So that's why I say it's a little controversial.
Well, now he's like lost half his face and doesn't look very good.
Yeah. Some people call him Two-Faced, right? Somebody that we need to get on our podcast is next on our list.
I tell you, I don't think it's going to happen because I did send him a message on Cameo and he left me on red. So I don't think we're going to get John. How do you say his last name?
Heater.
John. I don't think we're going to get John Heater onto the podcast, unfortunately.
Yeah. So we're not even going to talk about him.
But we'll still do an appoint in my episode eventually, even if he doesn't come on.
We have to.
You have to. Then, of course, we got Jane Clayson Johnson, who everybody knows.
Of course.
Sorry, I've never heard of her, so no offense, but I guess she was a broadcaster, a reporter for Good Morning America, early show, 48 Hours. She did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know her.
All the shows I watch every night.
Then
we got this one.
This one's your favorite.
Well, by far.
Absolute favorite. Nate is a big fan of the Twilight series. And
huge fan.
Yeah. Stephanie Meyer, another book turned movie, went to BYU, graduated in 1997.
Yeah. Are you team werewolf or team? I don't even know what the guy's names
are. Come on, Nate. Try and pretend like you don't know if you're Team Jacob or Team Edward.
Thank you, Jacob and Edward. But even though I haven't seen Harry Potter, I've seen all the Twilights because my wife I made my wife watch them with me. That's how big a fan I am.
Yeah.
And you know how I don't read, so I made my wife read the books for me so she could fill me in on the details of stuff they left out of the movies. So yeah, I know everything there is about Twilight.
Next, we got Don Bluth, cousin of Michael Bluth from Arrested Development.
It's part of the Bluth empire.
Now, Don Bluth, he's a director and animator, and he worked on All Dogs Go to Heaven, Anastasia, Land Before Time, American Tail, bunch of classic animation.
Those are good movies.
They're not Disney.
Good movies.
Well, I guess Anastasia's Disney now.
That's true. Almost any animated movies now Disney. I watched All Dogs Go to Heaven so many times when I was whatever that age it came out. So I think I rewatched it this year sometime. Tried to watch with my kids. They got bored really quick.
Yeah, it's a little.
But I love Anastasia as well. That was on the other day. Watched a little bit of that.
That's a good one. My wife likes that one.
And then one of your favorite people, Lucky Blue Smith.
My absolute favorite.
Apparently he's as you know, Brandon, he's an American fashion model, actor, and musician.
It says an article from 2015 said he's the most in-demand young male Mormon model on earth.
Wow. Outside of you, of course.
We got Gary Coleman.
Yeah.
He was in Church Ball.
I was going to say that. He was in Church Ball, so it's even in a Mormon film. But yeah, he lived in Santa Quinn from like 2005 until he died in 2010. Seems like all the cool actors make their way to Utah.
Then we got an Olympic medalist.
I think we got a couple of them on the list.
Couple on the list? Oh, yeah. We've got Noelle Picus Pace.
Yeah. She for the skeleton event, right?
I guess so.
You guess so. She lives out in Eagle Mountain.
Got Chris Fogg, lives in Alpine. He won the medalist for bobsled.
4-man bobsled. Yep.
David Blair as well for Paralympic.
Discus event.
Yeah.
For the Paralympics.
Then we got Wilford Brimley, who we all know and have talked about before.
In one of the best movies of all time, Ewoks.
We got another person from The Voice, Belle Jewell. We got Wayne Sermon, the guitarist for Imagine Dragons. We got Jeff Holm, a winner from The Bachelorette.
Does that sound weird that they say the winner?
Yeah, the winner.
You're supposed to be finding true love, but you have to win.
You got Todd Herzog from Survivor, China. Kelsey Nixon, who's on A Big Person from Food Network.
Yeah, and she even on BYU TV, I've watched a few episodes. They have one called Dinner Takes All, where I think they put two families against each other, and they're supposed to make like their famous family dinner, and then she's the host, and there's two judges that judge who made the better meal. So it's kind of fun because you see like families from different ethnic backgrounds making their country's famous dish or something like that. So I've seen a few episodes of that. Then you have AJ Cook, best known for her role as Jennifer JJ in Criminal Minds.
I didn't know she was from or lived in Utah.
Me neither. I've never really watched Criminal Minds. I've seen a couple episodes.
Of course, it's not a comprehensive list, but there's I guess the top 40.
Well, we gotta put. Well, actually, if you put me on there, there's 41.
That's true.
And then 42 has got to be to update the list. Who do you think 42 should be?
I would say Zach Wilson.
There you go. We're on the same page. Zach Wilson's, I think.
Who carried the Jets to the Super Bowl in 2022, and I'm sticking with that. You got it on record. I think there's a chance we're going to get down to Utah County this year, maybe for a couple of things. Fingers crossed, right? And so,
absolutely.
Sorry we've been so negligent and haven't given love to our brothers down south, but we'll get some Utah County love a little bit more frequently, hopefully.
Football season's right around the corner, just a few months away. So
yeah, we're just gonna have to see if we can get Kalani on, talk about BYU. I don't think he'll be too busy. Thanks for letting us have a little bit more chill episode today, but we are not slowing down. We've got some pretty big things coming up. As always, thanks for listening to This Is a Place podcast.
See you next week.